Hello again, Fairhaven Town Administrator Keith Hickey with the latest edition of Town Report for the week ending May 15th, 2026. Got a bunch of things to talk to you about today. We'll start with the select board meeting that occurred on the 11th. Had a pretty busy meeting, a couple of topics that went on. We had a continued public hearing on a property at 98 and 99 Middle Street who was looking to expand the number of licenses to sell vehicles from 2 vehicles to 40. A bunch of discussion about whether or not it was an appropriate use of the property. The property was rezoned several years ago. The 2 vehicles that he had did not meet current zoning, but it was a pre-existing, what they call a pre-existing condition. And that stays with the property, so the property is allowed to continue to sell those 2 cars in this case into the future. When that becomes a challenge is when there's a significant change in the property. And ultimately the select board agreed or decided that that changing from 2 vehicles to 40 vehicles was a significant change in the use of the property. This potential use needs to go to the planning board for some of their discussion and determination as to whether or not that property can support selling 40 cars on the property with all the parking and all the other issues that have to be dealt with on a piece of property that's being used for a commercial site. So ultimately, after some discussion, the board should not approve the expansion from 2 to 40 vehicles. If the applicant wants to move forward with some sort of a change in the number of car sales, he should go to the planning board and start that site plan process with them. We had an individual come in, Aaron Carr, who made a presentation on the snow removal and maintenance of the Phoenix bike path, bike trail, and the Cushman Park track. Ultimately, she's looking to have a donation account established that would fund outside costs associated with removal of snow on the bike path. Oversight and the maintenance of the bike path is a Board of Public Works responsibility. So it was good to have Ms. Carr come in and make the presentation to the board. Ultimately, the board's sole discretion on this is whether or not to establish a donation account that could be used for the funding. Ultimately, Ms. is going to have to get approval from the Board of Public Works if they were going to allow for any sort of winter snow removal on that, and ultimately specifically what the donation account can be spent for. So if she gets those approvals and gets a specific explanation as to what the money can be spent for, Ms. Carr would come back to the select board, and the select board could decide whether or not to establish a donation account for her. We also had an outdoor seating request for Olivia's Restaurant. Olivia's is looking to have some outdoor seating this summer in the front of their restaurant. I think it's a great opportunity to expand their seating and have people be able to enjoy outdoor seating on a beautiful day. So thrilled that the select board have approved the outdoor seating for Olivia's Restaurant. We then had an Economic Development Committee member by the name of John Hines come in and discuss the Economic Development Committee's interest in leasing a piece of town property that would be put out to bid for a contractor to construct an apartment complex. At this point, the property that's been discussed is at the intersection of Spring and Main Streets that abuts Cushman Park. What the select board agreed to on Monday evening was that the Economic Development Committee meeting could submit an application for a grant to provide funding for a feasibility study, and that feasibility study would determine the number of units that could be placed on the property, what the rental rate should be, and a variety of other economic indicators that would ideally determine whether or not the lot could support what needs to be built there, and B, a developer, if they came in and were to lease the property from the town, it would be financially viable for them to build the apartment complex and manage the apartment complex. And then we had some approvals for the use of Town Hall for the Cultural Council grant recipient reception on the 27th of May, the auditorium for an art event in July. So those were squared away. There were a couple of requests from Fairhaven Got Pride. Those were tabled to the next meeting to get a couple of issues resolved. First, the board approved Josh Crabb and Vinnie Furtado to the Joint Transportation Planning Group. That is a regional group through the southeastern Massachusetts, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, to provide some support and representation from Fairhaven. There was a flag banner request approved for the town office building for Juneteenth flag and Pride flag for the month of June, as well as the Fairhaven Improvement Association homecoming banner for the month of June as well. So that was the board meeting for Monday night. Some things that I mentioned to the select board, the state Senate has recommended a budget. That budget increases town revenues by about $81,000, more than the House budget. So we're happy to see that the Senate is increasing some state revenue money to the town. I'm hoping that when the state and the House get together and finalize a budget for the governor's approval, this increased revenue continues. So we're happy to see that. Some other things going on I want to make people aware of. This Saturday, on May 16th at Fort Phoenix, Mass 250th Anniversary Harbor of Courage American Revolution First Naval Engagement will occur. It's to celebrate the pivotal moment in American Revolution at Fairhaven's waterfront. Experience a revolutionary encampment, food trucks, cannon fire, and a 10-gun salute, and more, part of Massachusetts' 250th anniversary. So if you get a chance to do that, the encampment will open around 10 o'clock in the morning. The Huddleston Harbor Fest Festival at Grimshaw Park will occur from 11:30 to 6:30. At 2 o'clock, there'll be the Battle on the Beach, the Patriots versus the British with muskets. Cannon firing is planned around sunset at 7 o'clock. If you want more information, you can go to the website at discoverfairhaven.org, and they can provide that information to you. There's also a candidates night. If you're interested in hearing the candidates' opinions on a variety of issues in town, that's going to occur May 28th at 6 o'clock at the Town Hall Auditorium. It'll also be covered live by Channel 97 and be live on fairhaventv.com. If you have a question you want to submit to people, submit that to fairhaventv@gmail.com by May 24th. And specify which position you'd like the question to be asked to. The residents are asked to submit questions in advance to be asked anonymously, but to candidates. Each candidate for a particular seat will have an opportunity to answer the question with rotation of who answers first. So if you have an interest in participating, watching, and even asking a question, feel free to do that. Lastly, for today, I want to make everybody aware that myself, the school superintendent, and possibly some department heads we'll be holding a meeting on Tuesday evening, May 19th at 6 o'clock. It'll also be broadcast live on Fairhaven TV, and I'm assuming on fairhaven.com. And what this is intended for is there are 3 questions on the June 9th town ballot. What myself and others who are going to participate are going to try to do is just spend about 15 to 20 minutes just going through those questions, providing some documentation, and letting you know where you can get some additional information if you'd like that on the town website. So if you can't make it in person, which it'll be held in the banquet room at the town hall, where you can ask questions in person. If you can't make it in person, you want to watch via Zoom or even participate via Zoom, you're urged to do that as well. Just trying to get some information out there so people know what's happening when they go to the ballot on June 9th. June 9th, just to remind everybody, the polls are open 10 to 8. Voting places at the Recreation Center at 227 Huddleston Avenue. So try to mark your calendars. There's a lot of important stuff on the ballot this year, so we'd ask you to just take a few minutes and vote so we get a good turnout and get a sense of what everybody's looking for moving forward. So with that, I want to thank everybody very much for watching. Hope everybody enjoys what's supposed to be a beautiful weekend weather-wise, and we'll talk to you again soon.